Greetings, YouTube. Today's news article comes out of Florida. There is currently a bill pending in that state, put forth by the NRA, the National Rifle Association, that would prohibit doctors from asking if patients have firearms. This bill is particularly aimed at pediatricians. Frequently, pediatricians ask this question concerned about the safety of the firearms in the home because, unfortunately, firearms being unsafe have injured and killed children. By the same token, doctors ask if families have pools, and they will then instruct them on pool safety. I would expect a doctor to ask if parents do home auto repair for the same purpose, making sure that they're storing their chemicals safely. Now, as you can well imagine, the NRA is taking a different slant on this. They see this as an intrusion into privacy rights. But you see, it's a question. It isn't a demand. It isn't a court order. It doesn't have a police officer in the room with them. It's a question. That's it. If you don't want to answer the question, you can say, I have no desire to answer that question, or it's none of your business, or just, if you're so inclined, lie. But the NRA isn't taking it that way. They see this as an intrusion into the rights of gun owners. I'm not seeing it that way. Now, I am an advocate of the Second Amendment. I firmly believe that every American that wants to own a firearm should own a firearm. And that most weapon bans only affect law-abiding citizens, because if you're a criminal, breaking a weapon ban is pretty pointless if you're going to commit a crime with a firearm. So please understand that. I am not saying that I don't believe in that Americans should have the right to bear arms, because I'm not saying that. But I'm not a member of the NRA, and there's a reason for this. I used to be a member a long time ago. But the reason I'm not is I don't see the NRA as an advocacy group for American gun owners. I see it as a lobby group for gun manufacturers. And it's tricked Americans to paying them a whole lot of money and pretend to be an advocacy group for gun owners' rights, which I think is twisted and unethical, besides very likely being immoral, because what they're doing is furthering the business model of the gun manufacturers and not the safety and well-being of gun owners. Because that really is one of their key missions, at least on paper, gun safety. And this bill runs counter to that. It has got nothing to do with safety. If they believed in gun safety, they wouldn't interfere with a doctor asking about firearms. But they're not concerned about gun safety. They're concerned about gun sales. So they're stepping forward, putting forth this bill, and unfortunately, it looks like the Florida legislature is going to pass it and the government is going to sign it. So this bill is going to put children at risk, because now doctors won't ask about these things, and parents who could possibly not be storing their firearms properly will not be informed that, this puts your kid at risk, because someone that isn't storing their firearm properly may not think of that. In addition, it stifles the First Amendment rights of the doctors, and I, quite frankly, put the First Amendment ahead of the Second. There's a reason it's number one, folks. I think it belongs there. And lastly, it gets it between the doctor and his patient. So, let's see now. It makes kids unsafe. It tramples all over the First Amendment rights of physicians. And it gets between the physician and their patient. That's a lose, lose, lose in my book. There isn't any way you can spin this to make it look good, to my mind. This is a PR nightmare. And I'm hoping desperately that when the NRA and get sued and this is brought to court, that it will be because someone wants to step up to the plate and say this law is dumb. And I'm praying it isn't because some child is shot or killed because they did not have the firearms in their home properly stored, and it can be shown that the doctor did not ask that question, even though they wanted to. Because this is going to go to court, folks, and I'm feeling it's going to lose. At least I'm hoping it does. Because getting in between a doctor and his patients is wrong. Stifling the First Amendment rights of a doctor is wrong, and putting children at risk is wrong. I can't support the NRA, folks. At one time when I was younger, I did, because I didn't really look too deeply into it. But I'm opposed to lobbying groups. I think they're bad for America. I think that they cause us harm on both the ethical, moral, and financial level. So, I'm sorry that Florida made this decision. It isn't good for the state, and it isn't good for our nation.